Blackwood Swamp, read and written by Christian Ratcliffe Rippey. Chapter 1, Uncle Ed's Tall Tale, The Boy with No Birthday. April 18th, the common time of 1911. William Kelly had no birthday. He was born the same as everyone else, but somewhere between being born and Uncle Ed finding him as a baby, he lost his birthday. He lost it the way someone might lose an unimportant item, like a pen or a hanky, unnoticed and uncared. After all, babies don't care for anything other than eating and pooping. He had something better than a birthday, though. He had a founding night, full of magic and wishes. Every founding night he made a wish on the wishing eye to become an inventor. Last year, and the year before that, and the year before that, and so on, he had asked to be the most famous inventor on both sides of the Mississippi. He must have asked for too much all those years, because after 10 years and 10 wishes, none of them had come true. From every corner of the one-room houseboat, he spied his inventions, laying around the pot-belly stove, under Uncle Ed's kid-sized bed, stuffed on shelves, and in every nook and cranny. All of them worked backwards from normal. He invented a radio that hissed, a typewriter that scrambled letters, a self-writing pen that shot ink, an automatic sweeper that sprayed broom needles, a self-pouring coffee pot that poured coffee in every cup and shoe, and handless hair-cutting scissors that had cut off half of Uncle Ed's beard. He could almost hear his inventions calling to him from where they lay, saying, "Help us be good inventions." And he would, when his wish came true. Uncle Ed cleared his throat exaggeratedly, signaling he would soon begin the founding night story, and William scooted down the navy checker sofa towards Uncle Ed, who sat in a rocker. Troubles, William's still blue Great Dane, circled the lemon rag rug in front of the fireplace before resting his head on Uncle Ed's feet and giving a low whimper, as if to say he was ready to listen too. Uncle Ed stretched his arms, tattooed in purple daphne flowers, behind his head. His silver beard and hair framed his tan face like a bird's nest, and large glasses perched on the edge of his nose like eggs. Above the fireplace, Aunt Bee's picture sat on the mantel, and Uncle Ed stared at it, a half-smile on his face. The fire popped and crackled, and the houseboat smelled of story time, pine wood shavings mixed with the scent of fresh brewed coffee and warm milk and molasses. William pulled a soft flowered quilt around his shoulders, sipping on a rare treat of molasses milk. Happy tonight was his founding night. Outside the houseboat, not a single owl hooted, cricket chirped, frog croaked, or katydid rattled. The boat didn't even bump against the cypress trunk it was tied to. Whenever Uncle Ed told a story, the swamp quieted, and William pictured the swamp animals nestled along the cypress branches and front porch listening. The air hummed and tingled as Uncle Ed spoke, his voice deep and slow. "Many years ago, on a moonless night, the kind where you couldn't see your own finger even if it tickled your eyeball, an old trapper ran into some unusual happenings. Some who hear this story may not be the believing type, and before we keep going, I need to know, are you the believing type?" "Oh, yes," William meant every word. He believed magic existed the way people believed the sky existed. Wishes only come true for those who believe in them, and he sure needed every bit of his believing for later. "Good," Uncle Ed continued. "The swamp is a terrible place at night, playing tricks on the old eyeballs. Most people with any sense don't travel the swamp at night. They make camp or go home. But that old trapper, the most senseless there ever was, lost track of the time and found himself in the swamp at night. Instead of making camp, he decided to row on home. Through narrow creeks he rode, getting more and more confused with each turn. One creek dumped the old trapper into a pond surrounded by 7 large cypress trees. The trees stretched to the stars, and if the moon had been out, their branches would have poked the moon in the belly. From their limbs dangled Spanish moss curtaining the pond from anything that lay beyond. To the trapper, the cypress trees guarded the swamp, but from what, he didn't know. That trapper, none too smart, with brains like runny eggs, stared at the trees, trying to figure out what they were guarding. And while he stared at them trees, the swamp played a dirty trick on him. The swamp hid the creek. He found himself trapped in a pond with nowhere to go. How's that happen? William couldn't imagine how the swamp just changed paths. Yes. Well, let me see. Uncle Ed tugged on his beard, brows furrowed. Then he slapped the arm of his rocker. Mud goblins! That's what done it. They shore up a creek faster than any beaver. Now, that ain't what's important. What is important is the old trapper found himself in a pond with no way out. Of course, it didn't help matters that the trapper was near about cross-eyed. Uncle Ed crossed his eyes and stuck out his tongue. A silver scar slashed across his left eye, magnified by his large glasses. The trapper's sight was sorer than a musty old mole rat, and he wore glasses thicker than one of them Coca-Cola bottles. Made his eyes big as saucers, too, and still that old trapper couldn't see. As he circled that pond looking for an exit, he happened upon a buzzard, large as an elephant, nesting in the knees of a cypress. When I say that old trapper was old, I mean he was old enough to be dead, and by buzzard standards, he was a tasty treat.